My friends, welcome to I gotta find out the right thing to, there's so many things to press here. Hello there, my friends, I'm Tom Ziska, and you are watching The Bike Lane, live from my garage, where I try to fix my bikes periodically and sometimes fail. But tonight, we're going to talk about when you need some fixing, because your bike is a machine and it will invariably break. Something will go wrong. You may try to fix it yourself. You may be able to fix it yourself, or you may not be inclined to try it at all, in which case you may find yourself at your favorite bike shop. Mine happens to be where this guy works. Max Lewis works for Trek Bicycles in Houston at the Westview store on West End. Max, thank you for coming to my place.
So welcome.
So Max and I are going to talk about what to expect when you need to get your bike fixed. I see about 36 people checking in. We're glad to have you. So if you've got a question, I will try to get on over here and find what your question may be, and we will get it answered as best we can. So Max, what we wanted to talk about was when people come in, you, the mechanic, are typically the first point of contact, and they come in, they say, I got a flat, I got a this, I got a that. Tell me about that process.
Well, in our case, we have a service writer that will do and ask the same questions that the mechanic would. Mm-hmm. It kind of puts a barrier between us so we can get more jobs done. Right. In the back, if you request us, we can come up front, and we're always happy to talk to the customer.
But that process so in the Trek store, there's someone whose job it is to take it in.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And their biggest job is to listen to what your needs might be. What are you experiencing? Are you fixing a bike up for the first time that's sat in a garage, or it just depends. Every single customer is different, obviously. Every bike is different.
Mm-hmm. So I know, because I've seen it, because I spent some time. You know what Cheers is? You remember that shop? That show? I kind of had a few bike shops like that where I just, right. I don't. If they didn't want me there, they didn't tell me. But if I pissed them off, I don't know. But I've seen people come in, and they come in very urgently sometimes, and they say, "I want it right now." How often is that guy or gal going to get it right now?
Depends on what they need is. If it's a flat or something quickly done, we'd love to do right now. But unfortunately, most things are like a tune-up or whatever, and it should have had maybe a little bit more forethought of when you bring it in. Your race that's tomorrow, that's a problem. I mean, that's part of your training regimen. Should be keeping your bike in working condition, or have two bikes.
So yeah, I won't pan over this way. I have some extra bikes here. And before we get too deeply, I want to check in and see, because there's at least one comment here, and I want to read. Hello, Mike Henry. I see you. Happy to you as well. Let me put this up, because if you're just checking in to find out what the heck are they talking about when your bike needs service, what do you do? Max, what do you want people to know about this process and what to expect when they come in?
Well, the biggest thing I want people to know is that when you take, let me back up. If I receive a bike, I want the customer's experience and the repair to be perfect. I want their ride to be perfect. I don't want failures. Obviously, you touched on that they're machinery and they break down. But as a mechanic, I want everyone's ride to be pristine, spotless, perfect. Right. Easy. Maybe not easy on the physical side, but on the mechanical side. Because no one likes to be stuck in the middle of nowhere. No one likes this or that to happen. We especially don't want it to happen.
Yeah. So I will, just as a quick aside and anecdote, Max built this bike for me during the pandemic. It's kind of a Franken bike because there weren't a lot of parts available. Right. But I had some, Max had some, and we kind of threw them all together and completed and put this bike together. I had a problem with it, I guess a couple of months ago where something wasn't working. I took it into Max. It took a handful of days between the time I left it with you and the time I could come back and get it. When I got the bike back, Max wasn't there, but he called me and said, how's that bike working? That's what he's talking about, is wanting you to have that pristine, that perfect experience, so that when you go out and ride your bike and you turn the pedals, no matter what kind of bicycle you're riding, whether it's around the neighborhood or it's around the country, you want it to work.
Well, I kind of meant more the other customers, you know. I'd like for you to have a little trouble in your life. No, I'm playing.
Well,
no, but yes, I do care. I want it perfect. I want it to be perfect.
Okay. So let's talk about this, because some people may have had this experience as well. And whether it's your bike shop or you go to the mechanic for your car, you go in and we've all had the mechanic say, well, you're going to need this and this and this. People come in and you have said lots of times, you're going to need this, this, and this.
Right.
I think it's important for people to know what the mindset is. You're not trying to sell them a bunch of stuff they need. Tell me about that.
No, the honesty is also a big part of what we do, and we want our customers to feel. It's never in our best interest to sell someone some crud they don't need. Mm-hmm. You know, it's never in our best interest for that customer to tell another customer, man, I feel like they pushed this on me. I feel like I didn't get a fair shake. I bought these things that I don't need. We try to tell you things and sell you things that, you know, are either wearing out or they might help another part to wear out. Mm-hmm. So it would be better to replace them now so your bill isn't larger the next time you bring it in.
And the kinds of things you're talking about, and we've talked about this in the past, your tires are going to wear out.
That's right.
And depending on the type of tire, it's going to wear out quickly, or it's going to take some time. Same with your car tires. I mean, if you drive your car really fast and ride really hard, those tires are going to wear out quickly. The chain down here, we've talked about that. That chain does not last forever. In the industry, you say it's stretched.
Yeah, they call it stretch. It's not actually stretched. The little pins get.
There are a lot of pieces in a chain.
There are 116 links typically in a chain, and there's a lot of wear that happens to it. And we want to keep it fresh so that it keeps the other components fresh, mm-hmm. which are the big dollar ones. Yeah. Chain is like changing oil in a car, mm-hmm. And it's black and white. I mean, you can measure it with a ruler. They make fancy tools to do it.
Sure.
But you can see it. It's tangible. You can touch it. You can know that it's worn out. We can show you how it's worn out.
Among the things of a chain that's worn out, and when the mechanic says, "Hey, you need a new chain," it doesn't ship well. That's right. It doesn't sit on the cogs on the rear of the bike well. It kind of skips around.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I only know that because a number of times I've gone in and say, yeah, it's skipping around, and it invariably becomes you need a new chain. So with that in mind, when people leave their bike with you, the bike store, the bike shop, the mechanic area, it's a business. Mm-hmm. There's a cost that has been attached to all of these things.
Correct.
So if I need a new tire, there's a cost for that. And talk a little bit about what people should expect. Not that you're nickel and diming people, right. But that there's a line item for the stuff that you have to do to the bike.
There absolutely is. And you know, associated with the cost of the parts, you also have to factor in labor. Someone's got to pay me mm-hmm. to know what needs to be fixed, how to fix it, and that's how we get paid. You know, again, never nickel and diming, just doing the things that need to be addressed and the cost associated with doing them. Mm-hmm. And how we get labor dollar numbers typically is, for the many years I've been in it, we test the waters of what everybody else, what all the other shops are charging in the area. You know, does it seem fair? Is it too much? You know, but yeah, it's definitely part of the repair.
When we were in the midst of the pandemic, a lot of people bought bikes. A lot of people dusted off bikes that were in their garage, or hadn't ridden them in forever, and found out, oh my God, I need everything done to this, and I got a ride now. Let's talk a little bit about the pandemic experience and how much you are or are not coming out of that. You guys did not take a break. You were more busy during the pandemic, really, than any other time I think you can remember.
I think the pandemic ruined my life. No, I've never been busier. The people who were cooped up and in their houses and wanted just an escape. They just wanted to get out. They wanted to get away from other people. And their bikes were their saviors. Their church, their gym membership, they were everything. And everyone needed something now. The attitudes were horrible. We got yelled at, cussed at. When we could only do what we could do. And then to kind of compound the problem, we had the parts selling out. And we couldn't get anything. Mm-hmm. So you'd tell people 3 and 4 weeks, well, that's unacceptable.
Because the bike part factory
was shut down.
They were shut down. They were dealing with the pandemic as well.
And most are in Asia, and they shut down multiple times. So they get back up and running and immediately be shut down again. So every shutdown would be 3 or 4 months till more comes in. Mm-hmm. We are recovering from it now. It's kind of come to a halt, mm-hmm. and a lot of people are stuck with a lot of bikes that they don't use. They got out there and realized it's a little bit of a workout.
Well, you still got to pedal the darn thing. It doesn't ride for you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But the intensity has kind of let off, and the pressure's been let off a little mm-hmm. bit. But also business has let off a little bit.
Yeah. So if my last experience at a bike shop was during the pandemic, when I had to wait in line outside for you to come to me, do the intake, roll my bike away, and you'll call me in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however long it takes. If that was my experience, how different is my experience now if I roll in and I need help with my bicycle?
100% different. Everything about the experience is different. You don't have the long wait times. When we try to, at my company, our goal is 24-hour turnaround on a repair. It's hard to reach that. Obviously, when you have to order parts in, that's something completely different. It's a different discussion. But we try to at least in 2 or 3 days, turn it around and get you rolling and keep you happy. And the pandemic was absolutely nuts. I'm so glad it's over.
Are we all?
Yes.
Right? And you don't want to be hanging on to people's bikes.
Not at all.
You need to be. Part of your business model of your company is to churn that over.
Churn and burn.
Bring it in, fix it, get it out the door so there's room for the next one that needs to be fixed.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I had a thought in my mind and it escaped me. Look, my reading glasses. There are 2 comments here. If you have a question for Max while we're here, so to Pete. And Brad Swaim, who it says Max is a stellar mechanic.
I know that guy.
Yep, it's true. And some of you may recall Brad Swaim was with us on the last bike lane. He's a racer. He's up in the suburban Denver, Colorado area. If you have a question, and let's see who else is checking in. We have a dozen people on Fox 26 Houston. Can't really see who they are. Nope, it doesn't tell me who it is. And then we've got some on the Twitter as well. I like you all. Appreciate you. If you have a question for Max, chime in real quick while we're still here talking about bicycles. Bike inventory, the same as bike parts, is up.
Is up.
I was with Mrs. Ziska. We were visiting Santa Fe. I met some folks at a bike shop in Santa Fe, New Mexico called Mellow Velo. Nice shop.
Yeah.
Nice shop. And they were talking that their inventory is working pretty well. And I think that seems to be I get the sense that if you need a bike, you can find the bike.
You can find them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a pretty full store right now.
Let's talk a little bit about the difference between, and I have no problem personally for the type of bike riding you're going to do. If you got a kid who's just starting and you don't know if that kid's going to enjoy riding a bike, go into a big box store and investing in something like that. That's me. If you're thinking, Tom, I'm going to kill you when we're off, I'm sorry we can have that conversation.
No, not at all.
But there's a whole continuum of quality of bicycles out there.
Sure.
Not all of them can be fixed the same way. Can you fix the Walmart bike?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Most of the bikes that they sell, they were built to sell a bike.
Okay.
They were not built to ride a bike. The brakes are not the same quality. They paint the rims where the brakes are stopping the bike. They do crazy stuff to make it look great and enticing with a low price tag, and they go, "That's the same thing I see in the bike store." Absolutely not.
And I don't mean to suggest that they are the same bikes.
No.
Yeah.
And so let's take a different approach at this.
Uh-huh.
Kids bikes.
Yep.
I understand you have a kid. You just mentioned you have a kid that might not get into it, might not want to go past training wheels and take this on as a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Our bikes that we sell, and I'm not going to speak to those Walmart bikes.
Mm-hmm.
The bikes that we sell, if you're going to have a kid that's pretty athletic and into it, makes every bit of sense to buy.
Mm-hmm.
One, you can trade them in.
Mm-hmm.
Two, you can pass them down to 3 different kids before
Sure.
you kill it.
Because it will last.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And it's got replaceable parts.
real bike parts with real
bike-
bike threads
Yes.
and bearings and stuff that can be replaced. Exactly. So, if you're trying to get in on the cheap, I'd rather the kid have something than nothing. And maybe you can see where that child is going to, what his or her interests are going to be.
It might be a conversation on another bike lane, kind of the secondary market and how you identify a used bike, because you did mention you can trade a bike in, and that trade-in bike goes somewhere.
Right.
You're gonna say something?
I was just going to say, so our trade-in program right now, all those bikes are being donated. Trek will no longer, or is no longer current. Well, some of the really, really nice ones will trade in, but a lot of them we get donated to charity, and we do good with them.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm going to look. There are 4 comments here. I want to make sure I'm not missing a question here. Oops. There. So Brad wants us to talk about tubeless versus tubes. That, my friend, is a different conversation, not for this one, but it is something I have addressed, and I will in the near future be showing the process of, is that too close? I'll be showing the process of a guy who's never done it before, converting his tires from tubed to tubeless. That's not this conversation.
No, but we did have that conversation about this bike
Yes.
before starting this podcast.
Yes, and Max does say that there are people who love it, and there are people who don't love it yet, and there are reasons why. I'm presently a love it because I haven't had an experience to make me not love it. Is that
Sure, absolutely.
All right, I want to make sure I'm not. So Sonia Smith Jackson, yeah, you don't seem like you're terribly serious. Mrs. Ziska is here as well. She has a question.
Okay.
All right. She wants to know, before I ask this question, how long have you been riding, fixing, making bicycles?
I've worked in the bike shop now for 39 years.
Okay. I've been doing TV for 35 years, so you've been doing this longer than I've been doing TV. Yeah. So with that in mind, he's been around the block a few times. What's the most interesting bicycle you've worked on?
Ringling Brothers and an Barnum Bailey circus bike where I had to build wheels for it that were out of round. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done to make them incorrect, where they, so that the clown would ride it and
Really?
it would bob up and down. Hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was the circus in town and they needed, I mean, how did they find you?
I think they just happened into the bike shop, and I was a wheel builder that worked at the shop. That was the hardest, or the craziest one. Also, I did some prop work, gathering brake levers and things for ZZ Top at one point.
Now you're dropping names. Now you're just bragging.
Well, they came into the shop.
Yeah.
We found old school brake levers and stuff that made like some motorcycle stuff for some stage prop they had.
Mm-hmm. All right. What is the most exotic traditional bicycle that someone has had you build?
Whew. Man,
There have been a lot of them, I know.
There have. I don't know if I could put a finger on it exactly. Let me think about it and get back to you. You stumped me. Yeah,
we stumped him. I think that covers it, though. Let me make sure I'm not missing any more comments here. We are in good shape. So, hey, my friends, I hope this conversation was helpful because, like I said, your bike is a machine. And if you ride it enough, it's going to need some help. I love the idea of trying to fix a bike. And there are some things that you can do in your own garage if you want to. I have also done and attempted a number of things where it didn't go back together. So I had to take a bunch of pieces to Max and mutual friends of ours and say, I don't know what I hit, what I've done. Can you please put it back together? And you did. I'm grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you, buddy.
And love your mechanic and that's in a figurative sense. Unless, you're in love with a mechanic and then go ahead and.
Hey, wait a minute.
That's a different.
Slow down.
Buy me dinner first. All right. I promised we weren't going to go to that part of this conversation. Thanks very much for checking in. I'm going to press the right buttons here so that we make this a show the way it's supposed to be. My friends, thank you very much. I hope you've appreciated this conversation. And the next time you need some help with your bicycle, you have some sense of what's going on and what to expect so that these guys can get you out the door. They are invaluable in the bicycle world. We could not ride bikes without them. Thank goodness for the mechanic. I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks very much. We'll see you next week. I can't tease ahead to the next conversation. It's next Monday, though, at 6:30, and I will see you then. I will see you here right on the bike lane. See ya. Oh, there we go. Let me turn the music up here so we can say goodbye properly.